You watched the bond hearing live right here on News 2 just after 4 o'clock. This was in connection to charges that Murdaugh allegedly set up a suicide attempt to commit insurance fraud. For weeks and months, there's been speculation his family's connection to Murdaugh's mysterious death that has taken place really since 2015, over the past 6 years. Now, many of those investigations are continuing, but tonight we are talking specifically about the charges Murdaugh faced and why he was in bond court this afternoon. The bond hearing, you watched it live right here on News 2 just after 4 o'clock. It ended with the bond being set at $20,000 for Murdaugh. He turned himself in just after 11 o'clock this afternoon. The charges: filing a false police report, conspiracy, and insurance fraud. This after he's accused of getting another man, Curtis Smith, to shoot him in the head. This was a suicide, an assisted suicide attempt. Their plan was to get $10 million from life insurance and leave it to Murdaugh's only living son, Buster Murdaugh. His other son, as well as his wife, died in that still unsolved murder from just a couple of months ago, earlier this year. And after the hearing today, we heard from one of Murdaugh's attorneys, Dick Harpootlian out of Columbia, and he was asked if there was any tension or problems between Alex and Margaret Murdaugh before she was found dead.
And always affectionate, always courteous, always, I mean, just a picture of a domestic bliss. So no problems whatsoever. And if you talk to her friends, you look at the phone records, they talk to each other 5 or 6 times a day.
Of course, this was only one bond court hearing that we are interested in today. The other was the other person involved in that botched assisted suicide attempt with Alec Murdaugh. We are talking about Curtis Smith, who was brought into the detention center yesterday but faced a judge again today. For more on that, we want to continue our coverage. We want to head over to the detention center, and that's where we find News 2's Riley Benson. Riley?
Yeah, Brendan, obviously a lot of eyes on Alec Murdaugh and the results from his bond hearing today, but Curtis Edward Smith, 61-year-old, was also involved in the botched suicide attempt on Alec Murdaugh's life. Now, a Hampton County judge set Smith's bond at $55,000 for 5 charges he faces in relation to that botched suicide attempt back on September 4th. Now, like we mentioned, those charges stem from the attempted suicide shooting of Alec Murdaugh. Murdaugh asked Smith, a former client and drug dealer, to shoot him in the head on the side of a rural Hampton County road. Investigators say Smith used a firearm from Murdaugh before disposing of it. Smith faces 5 charges, including pointing and presenting a firearm, insurance misrepresentation, conspiracy, assisting a person in committing suicide, and assault and battery. And we had a chance to hear from Murdaugh's attorney, Dick Harpootlian. We asked him a couple questions on the relationship between Alec Murdaugh and Curtis Smith.
Any connection between Curtis Smith and the death of Maggie and Paul?
You'll have to ask Slade.
Who is Curtis to Alec?
Drug dealer.
Drug dealer?
Yeah.
Former client too, right?
Long time ago, yeah.
Is that how they met?
Yes.
How long was he his drug dealer?
Decade or more.
Now, we also know that the two had a connection previously from Alec Murdaugh and his father, Randolph Murdaugh III, representing Smith on at least 2 separate occasions. Now, state law enforcement says that this case is far from over. There could be more charges coming both for Curtis Smith and Alec Murdaugh. That's something that they're going to have to continue to investigate, and of course, we will share more with you as we learn that information. For now, reporting live in Hampton County, Riley Benson, Count on 2.
Yeah, far from over. Thank you, Riley Benson over there at the detention center. We were back at the Hampton County Courthouse with News 2's Raymond Owens, and we were talking about the attention that this case is receiving. National attention. You go around Hampton this afternoon, there's just as many media cars as there are regular cars driving down the road, Raymond.
It is. This is a very rural county, a rural town here in Hampton, and it's something they're just not used to here. I had a chance to talk to a number of residents here to get their perspective on how this makes them feel.
It's quiet, really quiet. I like that part of it.
Eduardo Gonzalez moved south from Connecticut, but he's lived in the Hampton area for some time now. He said he's not surprised there's been so much media interest by so many national and local outlets.
Well, I guess it's expected, you know, a small town.
Down the street at Al's Barber Shop, Walter DeLoach was getting a trim today.
I am from Hampton County. Scotia is my home, about 20 miles from here. Yeah, but I went away and I came back home in 1986.
Walter tells me this amount of press attention is something the community's just not used to.
Well, it means a lot. It's just a tragic situation. you know, for any family that's going through. And my heart just go out to families and what they're going through, and hope that things can get resolved.
Where I work over here at the Cancer Thrift Store.
Larry Hope said this is something else.
Oh, it's wow. You know, something like this happens, you know, everybody is talking about it like it's a movie type thing, you know. Bad things going on in the low country.
He tells me this is a big spotlight, but it could happen anywhere.
Things are happening everywhere. It don't matter where you at. Things are just kind of upside down. Everything is coming out. You know, if it's out there, if a lie is out there, it's coming. It's going to materialize into the truth. And the truth going to always come, you know. So you can't hide nothing anymore. Too much media, you know. You can't.
That was News 2's Raymond Owens reporting. So you saw today what happened with Alec Murdaugh. So I guess the question is, what's next? Certainly going to be a lot of time spent in a courtroom for Murdaugh as well as Curtis Smith. We're going to continue coverage now with News 2's Forrest Tucker, who spoke with a legal expert to see what possibly is ahead for Alec Murdaugh. Forrest?
Brendan, good evening. Continuing our deep dive into the arrest of Alec Murdaugh. Does this arrest today impact other open investigations about his family that he could possibly be involved in? According to an expert I talked to, the short answer is no. As of right now, the judge today will just be looking at this case today only. The arrest for insurance fraud and other crimes has no impact on the other investigations. Those do include an investigation into the misappropriation of funds at his former law firm, the investigation into the death of his former housekeeper in 2018, and lastly, the investigation into the murders of his wife and son. However, an expert I talked to says that this arrest could eventually impact other cases if Murdaugh is out on bond and arrested once more.
How this could impact the other cases is if he is arrested for something while he's on bond, then he would be presumably in violation of his bond, because the standard conditions of any bond are to not leave the state and to not get arrested for anything else.
Now, I also asked questions about when a trial could begin in the current charges Murdaugh is facing. The short answer, a very long time. Reporting live in studio, I'm Forrest Tucker. Count on 2.